Hello and welcome to the Motoring News Zone, the show we take you through all the biggest stories in the world of cars right now. This week, the most unreliable car brands in the US have been revealed. We cover the most annoying features in modern cars, and Tesla insurance rates are rising faster than any other car brand. Find out why and a whole lot more in today's show. If you're watching on YouTube, skip to the timestamps in the video to watch the story that you're most interested in. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Reliability is one of the most important factors when deciding what car you want to get. Now, of course, this does vary from manufacturer to manufacturer and also depending on the car as well. Some car makers get more reliable as time goes on. Some car makers get less reliable. These things do vary throughout time. But right now in 2025, which are the 5 most unreliable car brands in the United States? Well, thankfully, I've got the full list here for you guys. Consumer Reports recently did a survey of over 300,000 car owners in the US and got their thoughts on how reliable, or in this case, unreliable their cars are, and of course correlated this data together to give the 5 manufacturers that scored the worst on the reliability parts of their survey. So let's dive in. So let's start with number 5, which surprisingly, it's Volkswagen. Now, Volkswagen is not really known as an unreliable car brand here in Europe, but maybe things are different in the United States. Apparently, what drags down VW's ratings overall is the Taos, Taos, I'm not sure how you actually pronounce that car's name, but that is ranked generally as the least reliable new car in the United States right now, which is really saying something. That overall does drag the brand down. In general, Taos owners had issues with their engine head gasket, electrical accessories, and the brakes of the car. So basically everything that makes it start and stop, which is, again, quite important really when you're driving around. Outside of that, though, VW isn't that bad. It's not a bad car brand to go with, but clearly stay away from the Taos. That's the main takeaway there. Number 4 on the list is Jeep. Now, the worst one from Jeep is the Grand Cherokee. That does drag this brand down overall. Of course, this is an all-terrain 4x4 vehicle made in the good old US of A, but unfortunately, overall, the reliability of these cars is not great. While it can go over all grounds, unfortunately, this is a car brand that does break more often than others. They can either be fantastic or terrible, and there's not really much in between when it comes to the reliability of Jeep. Number 3 is GMC. Now, the worst offender from GMC is the Canyon, their mid-size pickup truck, which has a number of different issues, mainly related to the engine of the car and also the in-car electronics as well. Again, this is a car that can very much go over all kinds of ground, but unfortunately it is prone to braking. So if you're wanting to go for a different kind of pickup truck, I would recommend going for something like a Ford or a Chevrolet if you want some better reliability there. But let's head over to Cadillac next, number 2 on this list. Now, Caddies are, of course, famous for their luxury, but unfortunately, when it comes to being a reliable everyday motor, they are not really there. The Lyriq is the worst offender from Cadillac. In general, its electric vehicle battery, as well as the electronic accessories and interior features as well, are very unreliable, making it not the most pleasant experience to drive around or be driven in. But what is number 1? Now, I have to admit, I'd never heard of this brand before, and there's a good reason for that. They're an EV-only manufacturer from the United States. It's not Tesla before anybody says it. No, it is Rivian. Now, Rivian are, of course, owned by Amazon, and they are exclusively sold, I believe, only in the US and Canada. So the rest of the world hasn't experienced these cars yet. But I'm absolutely fine with that, given that they're the least reliable cars in the US right now. So they can stay in North America for all I care, to be honest. And unfortunately, you guys have to put up with them. Now, Rivian only makes the R1T pickup truck and the R1S sports utility vehicle, and both of them consistently get low scores from consumers. Apparently, they're very buggy when trying to charge, which is a very bad thing for an electric vehicle. They have general electrical gremlins and glitches as well inside the actual car. So unfortunately, this is a relatively new brand that has a long way to go. When you've got the richest company in the world backing you, I think they'll probably be all right in time. Just give them time. But right now, I would probably stay away from Rivian if you're wanting to get a reliable car right now. But yeah, those are the top 5, or the worst 5, the dishonorable 5, if you will, of the least reliable cars in the United States by brands. Do you own any of these cars that are associated with these brands? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, especially if you've got one of the specific models that I mentioned as well as being particularly particularly unreliable. I want to hear what you have to say. Maybe you think these are quite good. For example, here in the UK, probably the least reliable car brand is Alfa Romeo from Italy, but I know some people who absolutely love their Alfas. So, you know, there's two sides to every story at the end of the day. I want to hear yours in the comments below. Cars are getting more technologically advanced with every single year, and while a lot of these technology advancements are very important to the safety and overall comfort of car users these days, some are not quite as welcome. Some are actually making our lives more difficult, and there's one in particular on this list, this top 5 list of the most annoying, downright bad car features that need to be either scrapped or heavily improved upon. Really grinds my gears, and I'm going to go through them now for you guys. So let's dive in. Let's not mess around. Let's go into these features. So the first one I'm going to talk about is auto stop start. Now, if you have a relatively modern car, your car will most likely have this. It's basically the feature that cuts the engine out when you are stopped at a traffic light or another kind of stoppage to save fuel. The theory behind this being that while you're not moving, you don't need the engine, therefore you shouldn't have it just sitting idly while in neutral. It'll actually turn the engine off and save you some fuel. However, there are some problems with this. The first one being that apparently some studies are showing that these features are actually making the wear on your engine worse. And there is some sound theory behind this. If you are starting and stopping the engine so much throughout a journey where normally you would just turn the engine on, drive to where you've got to go and turn it off, if you're starting and stopping it 20, 30 times, depending on how far it is, depending on how many long stoppages you have, it can actually do quite a bit of wear to the engine. Now, when it comes to EVs, it's a lot more of a smooth thing at the end of the day. You're not burning any petrol, any gas, any diesel, none of that, because obviously it's an electric vehicle. So this is actually a feature that's quite handy for that. But for petrol-powered cars, for gas-powered cars, for you guys in the States, it is actually quite a annoying feature in a sense. Because if you turn your engine on all the time, on and off constantly, that's actually using quite a bit of fuel. Turning on the engine actually uses a lot of fuel, and in some cases, if that stoppage is not a particularly long one, you might actually be burning more fuel as well. So not only does it potentially wear out your engine, it also means that you burn more fuel in some circumstances too. So it's not really that handy of a feature. But the biggest gripe I have of them all, the worst feature in modern cars, in my experience, is without a doubt the lane keeping assist. So for those that don't know, a lot of modern cars these days have what you call lane keep assist. Course of a journey, if you go above a certain speed, it will actually trigger a steering wheel input to correct your steering so that you stay in the lane that you're in. Now, there are a couple problems with this. The biggest one for me, especially here in the UK where our roads are downright terrible and very narrow for the most part, big cars these days do struggle to stay in those lines all the time, particularly if there is a parked car, for example, on your side of the road as you're coming up to it. Now, of course, yes, you should use your indicator to go out of there, but say if you actually don't while trying to avoid this parked car, the car will then steer you back into the way of that stationary car. And there are some actual incidents where people have crashed because of the lane keep assist. It basically moves the car in a dangerous direction on some occasions to keep in the lane. The actual reading of the road as well is very inconsistent in my experience. Sometimes it's actually pretty spot on, but other times it does misinterpret certain lines as being the road markings when they're not actually the edge of the road markings. There's something else, for example, I don't know, like a bus stop or something like that. It can get triggered then. So it's a really big problem, and it can actually cause more harm than it's worth in terms of actually saving you. Driver attention warnings. Now, this is one that basically tracks how tired you are, what your inputs to the steering wheel and the pedals are like, and it determines whether you're too tired and need to take a break. There have been occasions when my car has said, you need to take a break, you're too tired. It puts up a little coffee cup logo, which sometimes I have been rather tired while driving and it's rightfully come up, but of course I knew in myself that I was okay to drive. Sometimes it comes on though when I'm not even remotely tired. So it's a bit inconsistent when it comes to that. I mean, distracted driving, tired driving is very bad at the end of the day. Around over 3,000 people in the United States alone died in 2022 from fatal accidents due to distracted driving when people are too tired. This also includes things such as using your mobile phone, reading notifications, just being distracted and being, in that case, a bit of an idiot if we're being honest. But it is a very important thing. And this attention warning can actually trigger when you're using your mobile phone, or so I'm told anyway. It can detect if you're being distracted, if you're being inconsistent with the steering wheel, things such as that. So again, that can very much give you a warning there, which is great. However, there are some problems really when it comes to this system. Now, some more advanced cars actually have a little camera that scans your face, that can see your face while you're driving. If you're wearing sunglasses, for example, again, it can determine that you are too tired and need to stop. It's not perfect by any means. The more raw system where you don't actually look at people's faces is in general better. It's not perfect, but the ones that use these cameras, these facial recognition technologies, are a really, really big problem when it comes to this. And sometimes less is more, sometimes more is more. When it comes to buttons and knobs and dials on your car, very much more is more. I really do like these features on cars, and I do actually miss the older days when these were very much standard. But nowadays, because manufacturers want a nice, clean look to their car, it's like mobile phones. Guys, remember when mobile phones used to have buttons, when smartphones used to have buttons, even if it was just a little home button on your iPhone or your iPod or whatever. Those aren't a thing anymore. Manufacturers now, they like to have clean looks to their cars, and it very much does come at the detriment of buttons and things like that, which means that to actually get to a lot of the important things in your cars, if you've got a very modern, advanced car, a lot of the time, you have to really go through all these pages and pages of stuff on your mobile, your little TV thing in the middle, I should say. And that really is annoying, to be honest with you, because it's very hard to find stuff. Like, just even finding how to change the date and time sometimes can take ages in these new cars. Doing the most basic thing that's hidden behind walls of menus and sub-menus, and it just makes it very confusing to use for a lot of people. I imagine this is a lot worse for older people that are using cars. They're used to things being a certain way, and they get into a car now and it's like, this is a spaceship, which is cool, but how do you work the damn thing? And the last one, and this is one that I refuse to use. I am sick of this in general in modern technology because it's just useless. And I will tell you why very shortly, but voice commands, voice control, speaking to your car to tell it to do things. Now, of course, if you speak the Queen's English or speak a very easy to understand form of the English dialect, you'll be absolutely fine with this feature. If you speak like that, you're all right. However, if you come from somewhere that's got quite a thick accent, like me, I mean, I don't quite speak as I do normally in these videos, if that makes any sense. My usual voice is a bit different. I do try and enunciate things a little bit more when I'm doing these videos. I don't know if it's a subconscious thing or just the fact that a lot of people from other countries watch these videos, so I try and make things a bit clearer in how I speak. But the way I usually speak's a bit more like this, you see, because I'm from Yorkshire, so I speak like this most at the time, and I miss out certain words like that in the middle of sentences. And the thing is, right, that makes it very, very difficult for these things to understand. And I know people might be saying, well, don't speak like that then, speak properly. But, when you're at home, when you're chilling, when you're in the car or whatever, you should be relaxed. You should be able to speak how you want to speak. And unfortunately, a lot of these voice control things are just downright useless. Let's be real here, guys. Let's be honest when it comes to this. Funny story, when I actually use my remote control voice control, that's the one thing I use when I'm searching for things on YouTube on my TV downstairs. I will use voice control on my TV remote. That's the only time I'll ever use it. And whenever I use it, I can very rarely get what I want by using my usual voice. So sometimes I actually use an American accent and it works perfectly every time. And I don't know if it's because I do a very good one. I don't know. I'm not going to do it on this video. Don't worry about that. But yeah, just little things like that. It just makes things infuriating. Imagine, put it into a car scenario, right? You're getting frustrated behind the wheel. You're getting annoyed. You're getting distracted. This can cause problems. So again, voice control in general is pretty useless for the most part, in my experience anyway, and cars are probably one of the worst offenders when it comes to this. But there we go, guys. This was meant to be a quick 5-minute video. It's been about 10 minutes or so. I hope you've enjoyed my rants on this, and I hope you agree with my picks as well when it comes to the most annoying modern technology in modern cars. The automotive sector is forever evolving, but some things remain constant, and one of those is that Americans absolutely love their cars, in particular their pickup trucks as well. But which cars have been the best selling in the United States recently? Throughout 2024, all this data has been gathered and now it has been released partway through 2025. So let's have a look at the most popular cars in 2024 by overall sales. These new cars coming onto the roads, which are the 5 that sold the most in 2024? Well, the first one is an EV, an electric vehicle, the Tesla Model Y. This sold 385,900 total units in 2024, marking a 57% increase overall on their sales in 2023. Throughout 2025, despite some bad press for their owner, I expect them to be potentially even higher up this list, potentially up in 4th or 3rd, but we'll see how 2025 goes. Of course, this is a very different car compared to the other ones we're going to get into, but yeah, an actual EV making the top 5 in the United States when it comes to sales, that is a big landmark for that vehicle type. Number 4, something that we do expect here, it is an SUV, the highest placed non-pickup truck on this list. It's the Toyota RAV4. The RAV4 sold 434,943 units overall in the United States, making it a very popular choice for consumers. Of course, Toyota are renowned for being a reliable car manufacturer, and interestingly as well, they are the only non-American entry on this list as well. The other 3 above this are all American, extremely American cars, and you'll see what I mean by that very shortly. But number 3 on the list, just ahead of the RAV4, is the Ram pickup truck, formerly known as the Dodge Ram pickup truck. It's now just the Ram pickup truck. That sold 444,926 units, which is a slight decrease on 2023. So that podium place that it's currently got is under threat for 2025 unless it rebounds very well. Number 2, another pickup truck, this time the Chevrolet Silverado, selling over 500,000 units, 543,319 in total. That marks an increase of just over 30,000 units sold on its 2023 figure, but it's not going to threaten the top entry on this list. You already know what this is. You already know it has to be for the 42nd consecutive year in the US of A, the top selling car of all time in the USA. It is, of course, the Ford F-Series pickup truck. It sold over 750,000 units, 750,789 in total in 2024. That marks an increase of just over 100,000 upon their 2023 sales figure. EVs, SUVs, any kind of other car has a massive increase. To put it into context about how many units that actually is, if you were to combine the sales figures of the Tesla Model Y and the Toyota RAV4 in 4th and 5th place, you only just get a figure higher than this by around 60,000. That's how many the F-Series pickup truck is selling. Of course, the Toyota Corolla is the most popular car of all time in the world, but the F-Series pickup truck is catching it at this rate. It is extremely impressive how many it is selling in the United States. But yeah, there you go, guys. The Ford F-Series pickup truck, the most popular car in the US in 2024. And probably for the next 50 years at this rate. It's unbelievable how many it's sold and how consistently popular it is. But I understand why. Car insurance is getting more expensive. That is not news. That is just a general trend with the times. It's always going up in general, but it's really accelerated over the past few years for a number of different factors, which I may cover actually in a video at some point for you guys here on the channel. But one car brand in particular has seen a spike in the rates of insurance higher than any other recently, and that is Tesla. Now, your first thought might jump to the fact that their owner has made some rather controversial comments and done some controversial things, and therefore, unfortunately, some people are threatening to do some horrible things, particularly to those Cybertrucks. It's not due to that, though, not entirely, not officially anyway. I'm just going to go into why this is the case, why Teslas are expected to rise so much in terms of their insurance prices in the near future, and indeed have risen a lot recently so far in 2025. On average, the Tesla Model Y's insurance rates are rising almost 3 times faster than the national average in the United States. On average, they have risen around 24% year on year. The average cost to insure a Model Y in the United States is around just under $4,000. for a yearly rate. The Model 3 also saw an uptick of 24% since 2024, and the average cost of insurance that is just over $4,300. The Model X as well, that has gone up by 22% since last year, and the average to insure that is just over $4,000 as well. Now, in theory, EVs should be cheaper to insure. They don't need traditional services such as oil changes. They are also easier to fix. They are simpler to fix, but overall, their rates of insurance are increasing, just like everything else right now. The downside of EVs, of course, is that you have to go to a specialized garage to be able to do it. Not all garages are able to service EVs, which can mean that the actual prices of fixing them do increase. And that is actually one of the reasons why the insurance is going up, because of the cost of repairing them is going up as well. The cost of general services from garages goes up, therefore the insurance goes up. If something goes wrong with your car, the insurance needs to compensate for that effectively when it comes to their rate. They don't want to lose out pretty much. That's how the insurance system works, and we could talk about how it's unfair and everything, but unfortunately that is the reality of the situation. Older Teslas are particularly hardly hit as well because of the type of batteries that are being used in modern or current new EVs compared to older ones. The automotive industry in general, when it comes to EVs, is shifting to cell-to-pack battery technology, which of course some older Teslas can't use, and because of that, their rates do go up even more than the newer ones. In fact, 3 Tesla models top the list of the most expensive vehicles to insure in the United States. But it's not the only one that is going up. Some other foreign cars, such as the BMW 5 Series, is 4th overall on the list. That averages at around $3,200 to insure on average per year right now. And even some older models, some older hybrids such as the Toyota Prius, that costs around $330 more to insure now than it did 12 months ago, an 18% overall increase to $2,151. Other expensive cars to insure include the Hyundai Santa Fe at just over $2,200, which has gone up by 15%. The Honda Accord at $2,600, which is a 14% increase. The Hyundai Elantra, which is at $2,851 per year on average. That's a 14% increase. You get the picture. Everything's going up quite a bit. The Teslas, though, are going up more, and it's nothing really to do with the safety of the cars in terms of the threats that have been made against them. That's not really factoring into it, at least not officially anyway. Maybe that's factoring into their thinking, but they're not wanting to admit it. But officially, it's due in general to the increased cost of maintenance for these cars, and that's something that's across the board, but it's particularly prevalent for Teslas because they are a very specialized car that do need special parts, and some older ones, unfortunately, they can't be adapted to newer battery technology, which is of course advancing quite a lot every single year. But yeah, those are the reasons why Tesla basically are, increasing in terms of their insurance prices overall. Do you own a Tesla? Have you experienced this yet? Have you reinsured your Tesla recently? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Cars are almost a member of your family. They ferry you from one place to another. They're very important, and they're also very expensive as well. Even a so-called cheap car is probably one of the most expensive things that you will own. So therefore, people are always going to try and steal them. But what can you do to deter these pesky thieves? Well, there are some simple tips here on the motoringchronicle.com to go through what you can do to help prevent your car from being stolen while you are out and about. Let's dive in, guys. So, high-tech car thefts are at a record high, but drivers can protect their cars with simple physical barriers such as a steering wheel lock, the thing that we see in the thumbnail for this article here. Says, leading breakdown provider, start rescue. Using readily available electronic devices, thieves can gain entry to drive off in many modern cars in seconds. If you've ever seen them do it, it is scary. Just 2 dudes rock up in the middle of the night, all dressed in black, with a laptop and this weird coat hanger looking thing. They send a signal through, it unlocks the car, they drive away. You've lost your car, you can't catch them, the police don't care for the most part, and even if they did, it's very difficult to find them because guess what, you've got some grainy 240p CCTV footage to actually try and catch them, and that's never going to work. Crime Watch is very much being parodied at that point, if you know that show here in the UK. Using readily available electronic devices, thieves can gain entry and drive off in many modern vehicles in just seconds. The 2022 to 2023 crime survey for England and Wales shows a 40% of vehicle thefts were by this method, and that number is probably going up as more modern cars are becoming more prevalent. Crime in general, of course, is going up too, and thieves are, of course, on top of that, getting richer because they're selling all these cars. So they're probably just going to keep doing it. Drivers are being urged to use simple, strong, and visible anti-theft solutions such as steering wheel locks and wheel clamps so car criminals will move on to an easier target. It takes seconds to attach a steering wheel lock to reduce the risk of theft, says Lee Puffett, the managing director of Start Rescue. Protecting your car from criminals also helps keep your personal information secure that is stored through in-car data and smartphone apps. In the UK, over 129,000 vehicles were stolen between April 23 and March 24. Theft of keyless entry vehicles is on the rise and went up by 2% in this period compared to the previous 12 months. Using a steering wheel cover, brake pedal lock or similar device might seem like an old-fashioned way to secure your car, adds Mr. Puffett. But it's tried and tested technology that puts off thieves with a tough physical deterrent. Anything that makes a thief ignore your car and move on is worth using. Drivers can further help prevent car theft by keeping their keys and fobs out of sight and reach when at home or at work. Don't arrive home and immediately drop your keys on the hall table. Get into the habit of storing them out of sight. Thieves won't care what they damage in their quest to steal keys they can see, even if a door or window is in their way. You can also keep a car key in an RFID pouch to block its signal from thieves. So there you go, guys, some tips on how to do that. At the end of the day, sometimes the old methods are best. You know, you think this technology is actually keeping your car safe, but actually it's just making it more and more easy for thieves to actually get in them. You know, it's arguably even easy. Literally, it takes seconds. They don't need a crowbar. They don't need to smash anything. They don't need to tow your car away. They just rock up with a laptop, push some keys, in they go, and off they go. We've never seen that again. That's going to be in Romania in like less than a week, probably. So, you know, or another country, of course. But yeah, that's pretty much what happens, you know. So anything you can do to really help is going to help when it comes to that. You know, they'll always choose something that's looking more vulnerable at the end of the day. Even these little deterrents, it adds to the overall risk on their side. It takes them longer to do it. So it doesn't make it foolproof by any means, but that is a very simple way to do it. So yeah. Your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Have you got a theft deterrent thing? And I know I'm going to get some comments saying I've just got a really crap car that no one wants to steal, which is not the worst method, in fairness. I mean, if it works, it works. But I'm sure I'll get some people saying that. But anything more serious, anything you can actually do to your car to make thieves less likely to actually try and steal them. Your thoughts in the comments below. Like, share, comment, subscribe. As always, guys, if you want to see some more content like this on the channel, yeah, have a great day. See you very soon.